Real Conversations, Real Solutions, episode 3. Today, we're going to be talking about women's health, trauma, hormones, and a whole lot more. Today, I have somebody special who is a birth and postpartum doula, which it takes a special being, to be able to be with a mother during this sometimes scary process and sacred process and guide them, to bringing a life into this world. Not only does she does that, but she is also a senior at Missouri State University, pursuing her bachelor's degree in general studies with an emphasis on anthropology, sociology, and child and family development. She also is pursuing certifications in juvenile support and family conflict. So without further ado, I'll introduce y'all to guest number 3, Miss Armani.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to talk about all of the things that we have set out for today's show.
We have a lot for you guys today.
Yes, it's a lot. It's a lot.
So the first topic we're going to be talking about is Black women's mental health.
You kind of wonder, where is a tipping point for Black women when it comes to our mental health? What is it that we're all going through that's common that we don't really speak about? Mm-hmm. Or like what are similar challenges that we're facing, and how is it impacting us in similar ways that we don't publicly acknowledge because it's not supported? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. What do you think like causes?
When I think of that, whenever I listen to what you say, I think of being a single Black mother and the things that comes with that, and how sometimes we can make it harder because we have an issue, but we also have, something where we take the struggle into this pride of being proud of being a single Black woman, to where we could make our life easier having a whole bunch of single Black mothers rather than going out, at night. We all get together and maybe this person watches the kids while all the other mothers go, handle their business. Like, I don't know, just changing our perspective on those type of ways. And I'm pretty sure you could talk on the mental health aspect.
To actually talk about that, at one point there was a support system like that in ancient civilization time. When you look at indigenous culture in the US or in the Arizona, so the way that the housing was built, it was like, open concept, to where it was like stacked on top of each other. And even though you were in your own space of your own like home, where like if your neighbors heard you have a rough night with your baby, or if your neighbors like, hear you struggling with your child, they'll be like, hey, I heard you having a hard time. I'll take your baby while you can get some rest, or how can I support you? Or like they'll just bring over something for you to eat or something like that. And like there was this culture of sisterhood and support. It was just an automatic thing. When it came to just like women supporting women, and not even necessarily when they were just mothers. With these women being around each other for so long, their bodies and their cycles would pretty much come in tune to where like they would take miniature retreats and like spend time together as sisters and just kind of like building that relationship with one another. Like today in society, that connection of sisterhood has become so strenuous to where like a lot of women are isolated. And like they're taking on so much, and that narrative of like that strong Black woman, like, oh, you can do it, having her hands in multiple pots. And like, by all means, like, yes, absolutely do that shit. If that's what you're passionate about, go for it. But like sometimes like we feel like we have to because of that high level of perfection. And I feel like or like because we have to succeed, there's no other way. We take on so much, our mental health starts to slide down and like or going into a decline, and we don't even notice it until it's too late. Like for instance, there was a situation where there was a mom in Allen, Texas. She was living in a suburban community. Her house looked very nice. She was married and they had 6 children. The news headline pretty much stated that she was torturing her children with knives and like was abusing her husband. I saw this article on social media. Underneath in the comment section, they were literally crucifying this woman, saying like this is where she needs to be. All I could think about was like, in my heart, it was like, I bet her children are close in age and they're younger. It was like a confirmation of just like, she's probably dealing with postnatal mood disorders on top of any other pre-existing mood disorders that she may not be fully aware of, or like have the support to get, treated. And it hurts because what happened to her when SWAT came in and like took her away and took her to prison, That's exactly what happens whenever you have a lack of support systems. That's exactly what happens when you have a lack of education in regarding to how to take care of yourself in your different stages as a woman. Because like I truly feel like our society, girl, I get so passionate about
No,
this
it's okay.
because it's like it makes me so upset. Like when you look at the 5-day schedule work week, this is based off a typical male hormonal cycle where they barely have peaks and divots within their hormone cycle. But with women, our hormone cycle is literally different every week, and so our productivity level is different. I'm really passionate about women learning like what it is that their body needs each and every week, because every week you're going to need something different. Like this week I can produce this amount, this week I need to rest, and being able to honor our bodies when we're in that state, because like if not, like it really does mess with our mental health and it messes with our physical health. It causes all types of diseases and stuff like that. I wish that there was more support for women. I wish that like there was more education and forewarnings for women who are embarking to become parents. Like this, hey, like I know that you're excited and you're trying to prepare for when this baby come here, but no one really actually talks about that train wreck that happens like once the baby gets here and you're home for the first week.
Yeah,
it literally could rock your entire world, you know.
So I mean that's a good discussion with Black women and mental health. I mean they even say just the fact of having mental health issues is a chemical imbalance. So it's just all, just a whole bunch of imbalances. And, kind of like to add to your point, as women, we are emotional creatures, but we're emotional like in a good way. Like I always say, like that's our superpower. We just got to know how to harness it. And like you said, knowing that, each week is different. You're going to have to recognize your moods, know why you feeling that way. And I don't know, got to be the, I don't know, emotion
navigator, you know. Yeah.
And it's important for everyone.
I feel like also our emotions are directly correlated to and our hormone cycle is directly correlated to like just the spiritual aspect of being a woman. I think that your emotions are signals to underlining things that need to be paid attention to, that's in the unconscious mind. And I feel like because women are essentially, we are portals. Like our babies come from our womb. We harness that soul from God, and we bring that baby into the world. You know what I mean? So like with that great power comes so much. It's, you know what I mean? And like when you're not in balance with your body, like it creates so much chaos in you and around you. Because we're also intergenerational beings, there was this scientific research that was like pretty much looking into like DNA code, where it was saying that, I forget the statistics, but essentially 92% of your DNA is from your ancestry. And so with that, like everything that you are is from past people that created you. Essentially dealing with that, trauma sometimes shapes your genetic code. So like dealing with that trauma from them, dealing with your own emotions, and like trying to make sure that you're not spreading it to your children, and like also dealing with the societal pressure of like making money and being a good spouse and like being your best self. Like it's a lot of pressure. And I don't think we get enough credit. Even the women who don't have children and who aren't married, being a young woman is extremely challenging, because like the world is looking at you to be up here or you're not. It's just challenging. Like it's challenging, and you're trying to be true to yourself, trying to find yourself, and stay true to your mission and your voice. And like you don't really have sisterhood, because how our society has been conditioned to like look at individualism. Like we don't really value community like we used to. So it's like it's really challenging.
And to add to your point, with the mental health aspect, before we go into effects of trauma on health, so adding basically the mental health aspect, and just just how our role as the woman has kind of just been shifted to where it's okay to have a child and not necessarily be with the father. You're single, you're still making money, you can still have kids, and like there's no emphasis on family units. Like even if you do have families, like it's so individualistic to where it caters, it rolls over into like families. Like, you have a whole bunch of individual families. There's no more like, oh, all of these young adult families get together and have gatherings, to where there's, multiple generations.
Similar to like our ancestors, like the get-togethers, people who were cousins but weren't really cousins, or like this is your auntie that's really not your auntie, Yeah. I feel like personally technology really played a part in that. Like, why are we so awkward, y'all? Like, why is our generation so awkward when it comes to making connections with people? You go to like a social function, a house party, or like just a social gathering in general, and like they're playing good music and nobody is talking to each other. You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of weird, and it makes you feel isolated, and that impacts your mental health as well. For me personally, anytime I go to a party, I see a group of pretty Black girls, I want to go up there and say hi. Like, I want to go talk to you, but like, I'm scared because like, I'm like a little traumatized from like, past encounters with like some judgy girls. You know what I mean?
I think it's important that you mention that, because I just feel like even just with any mammal or, being like on earth, like communication is like, it's a way of life, no matter the type of communication it is, how you communicate. Pandemic time taught us that as well. Like, it's important for us to be communicating beings. It's in our nature to communicate with one another.
Yeah.
Just how like a hug, gives an oxytocin release. Like, interaction is normal.
Yeah. Yeah. When COVID like first started opening back up, and they were like, oh, you can go out in public and do things like go to the movies if you have a mask on, or like if you got vaccinated, which that was wild. But anyways, I just
think topic. Y'all wild for that.
No, for real. It was really nice to just be in a movie theater, even though I was like damn near 6 feet away from this other person. It was nice to just sit in another space with someone besides this person I live with at my house. You know what I mean? Like, you never realize how much you need that human interaction.
Yeah.
Until you have it,
100%.
Yeah.
So now, while we're talking about mental health, we're going to transition into talking about mental health, traumas, and the effect that it has physically on the body. That I'm going to speak a little bit on just how much what you say and whatever you hold like in your brain, your mental capacity, it matters. It matters what you say to yourself. And an example I can give of that is like a common thing known as like the placebo effect. So typically in like medical trials, they'll hand somebody one pill, say, hey, this is going to lower your blood pressure. They give it to you, and then they have one other group, the control, that they give it to, and it's really like nothing in it. And they found like throughout this time, through many experiences, that the people that, that don't receive the certain drug, just by off them being able to think like, oh, this is going to work for me, they start to get better. So that's an example of, how much, what you, well, no matter what type of trauma, she's going to type it to, talking to all the types of traumas and stuff, but no matter the type, like, it has an effect on you. So, yeah.
I love that. The placebo effect, yeah. Diving deeper into like what you were saying, like what you say to yourself, how do you talk to yourself, not just when you're feeling good, but when you're mad, or when you're like feeling depressed or low, but like also what music are you listening to? Like, is your music calling you a goddess, or is it calling you a bitch or a hoe? You know what I mean? Or is it empowering you to like build yourself up, or is it saying like, fuck these niggas, go get some money or whatever? Like, I don't know, like,
what you looking for a husband?
Like, it's girl. That's another topic, girl. That's another topic. Listening to those words and singing, memorizing those lyrics, and then like singing it over and over again, and then like turning it up, and like hearing that bass in your heart and in your like just all in your body, like that's literally programming you to think these ways about yourself, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between you telling the truth and you telling the lie. It doesn't know the difference between anything that you're giving it. So like, it's like so important to be selective about what you're consuming. And then like, it's important to be selective about who you're around too, because like I study this in college as well, but like from my experiences of individual trauma with family, like, you're around people who don't believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And so consequentially, they're going to project their negative feelings about themselves onto you and say, you're not able to do that either. And, you know, because you're around those people and you haven't really opened up your horizons to anything, like you start to embody those things. I think that can have an effect on your mental health as well. And I think that that's a form of generational trauma that needs to be broken.
So where does the trauma, I guess, like start, the generational trauma? How can I be affected by something that my mom's mom did?
So I think that's really interesting that you asked that. Personally, I can't tell you where it's traced back to, where it starts, because that's not my ancestral lineage.
Yeah.
However, it's in you, but I'm explaining how it's in you. So essentially, take you for instance, you have a uterus and you have your own set of eggs that you're going to ever like produce ever. You're not going to make any more. You're born with those. When your mother was pregnant with you, she carried your eggs plus hers. And she also carried the genetic code for your children's eggs as well. When you go back to your grandmother, she carried all of y'all. And so when you look at, say, your grandmother experienced something traumatic while she was pregnant, or maybe not even pregnant, as a young woman. And, oh, girl, I'm sorry, y'all.
It's okay.
Don't mind me. I forgot what happened in my mouth. So essentially, if she doesn't process that healthily, she's going to store that in her body. And essentially, it's going to change her genetic code. And it's going to change the genetic code of her eggs as well. So moving forward, every person that she gives birth to. Oh, and let me rewind back. So when a woman becomes pregnant, like her, based off of what her environment is and what her emotional state is, or what her nervous system state is in, it produces a set of hormones that promotes and helps your baby to survive whenever they're out of the womb. So if you're in a highly stressful space, your baby is going to have a hormonal response in general to just be prepared for stress. But like in response to that, they're going to have extremely high cortisol levels. They're going to have mood disorders potentially. Yeah, like
that's crazy.
I
hope y'all caught that.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like it is a lot. So like if you're not aware of that, and if you're not actually taking the time to process these traumatic events, it's just going to continue on in the genetic code, and there's going to be different clues that pop up in everyone's life. So like, for instance, this book I was reading is called It Didn't Start With You, and it's talking about generational trauma, and it was talking about this guy after I believe his 19th birthday, he started waking up at 3 a.m. freezing cold, unable to go back to sleep. Like he was like deathly afraid, and like this was a habitual thing that kept happening every single night, to where he ended up dropping out of school because he lost his scholarship, and like his life pretty much was in shambles. His therapist was able to help him to unpack how essentially his uncle that he never met died in Antarctica traumatically. Like he froze to death in Antarctica trying to fix a power line. And because no one like really knew what happened, that was like a traumatic thing that just kind of spread through the lineage. And once he was able to unpack that, he stopped having those nightmares. So like, it's amazing. It's complicated. It's really complicated. In so many words, just be gentle with women. Be gentle with us. Like, be gentle with everyone, of course, but like, be gentle with women, because when you talk to a woman, you truly are talking to a nation.
Yeah, I love that. So, what other I guess effects can trauma have like on the health, on the body?
So I do know that your body stores different emotions, like the liver stores anger, the stomach stores anxiety, the heart stores stress, things of that nature. Like putting that constant negative emotion on these different parts of the body, it causes different autoimmune diseases. For instance, like a generational trauma that your family has is chronic stress. You're going to have a bloodline of individuals who are dying from heart attacks or hypertension. So it's like that, and then like
maybe probably kidney issues or something.
Yeah,
like
kidney issues. Yeah,
constantly.
Yeah, and then like depending on how your family coped with that generationally, whether it been through food or alcohol, there's going to be things that come with those generational habits. So like diabetes, you know what I mean?
Okay, I like that. So now y'all learned a little bit about how all these different types of traumas can actually physically impact you. So if you ever wondered how this was able, this verbal or physical thing could have an effect on my being on a micro level, now. So next we're going to talk about systems of sexism. First thing I can think of whenever I think of sexism is how in I think it was the 1957 or something, the first contraceptive pill came out. And in the 1960s was the start of the sexual revolution. Now, the sexual revolution, I guess, during that time of, women fighting for their rights and, really pushing for us to get out the house. I feel like everything comes with this downturn, yin and a yang. So I think this whole revolution went into overdrive to where some of our rights as being a woman, as far as like, having kids and, that part that isn't well respected, wasn't respected more. Just so because now that we're out here, we're in the workforce and we're in the work field, but now those parts of us that makes us a woman aren't being respected. Mothers aren't able to have time with their children. They just got to spit them out and get back to work.
And not even that, like, I don't know about y'all, but when I'm on my period, I don't want to go nowhere. Why do I have to go to work? You know what I mean? Like, and then I got to pay for tampons and pads. And it's like something that this is not something that I asked for. You know what I mean? Like, it's just little things like that where it's just like, personally, my body is doing the society a service, a favor. So the least I could do is have a week off for my menstruational cycle and be able to get reproductive rights respected. You know what I mean? I did want to go back and talk about how trauma affected health. I did not mention hormonally. It's just that I don't personally know too much about that. Not addressing a certain emotion that's you're constantly reenacting, or not addressing a traumatic experience that's affecting you emotionally can also affect your hormonal state. So
yeah. We can talk about women's, requests, have been like delayed or denied or anything, I guess, related to reproductive rights and some of the issues we have currently. Like I know one of the major things I like to tell people is that they're trying to wipe us out. They're trying to wipe out what makes us women. I could just see how with the fertility clinics and things of those natures, they're not only recognizing, how, because to be honest, to be able to produce a life, I feel like that's one of the most special things that makes us different from males. I mean, that's the main thing. I feel like the fact that they're recognizing, okay, women are having issues with these things more and more and more, rather than, taking the chemicals and taking all these out, the tampons and the pads and like clothing and things we give them. Let's offer another option that they can pay more for, have to go through rounds of hormonal therapy, which is going to damage the body even more, just to be able to produce a life. Yeah. And then what they do, take the placentas whenever they have it. They're going to profit off of that too.
I think it's like all about a control thing because like first they're like encouraging, oh, take autonomy over your body and get on birth control. And it's like, yes, this is great to an extent, but like it's also really bad for you. Like it's really, really bad for you. Women are like, okay, well, I don't necessarily want birth control, but like if I ever came across a situation where I got pregnant and I'm not able to have this baby, I can get an abortion. No, you can't, sorry. Yeah, no, you can't. It's not cool. We need that baby. It's like you look at it on like it's just men trying to be controlling, but it's also on a systematic level of elitist taking control of the fact that women are the catalyst of society. So like what condition we're in before we have that baby determines what condition society will continue to be in. So if like I'm in poverty and I'm pregnant and I have no means of getting out of poverty right now, there is a extreme likelihood that my baby will also grow up in poverty and potentially repeat that cycle. It's just like they benefit off of poverty, the late fees, the low wage jobs, but they're like working you like a slave, rent being extremely high, poor quality groceries, illnesses. Like it's just a control thing. And I
mean, let's go ahead and talk about, the patriarchy. That's put into place to oppress the Black woman. I know something you wanted to mention was the standards of beauty. I laugh at it now more than ever, especially whenever the common idea of beauty went from like stick figure now to like, big lips,
yes,
hips,
girl.
like, the high cheekbones, they've always wanted the Botox. And then you go to Africa and look at, certain of our people that, look closer to like our descendants, and you see like the high cheekbones, the curly hair.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the curly hair now. And, You know, I mean, we're flattered. We're flattered. But I
Yeah.
just don't like how, growing up, especially whenever influence and the only thing that people saw on TV was the only thing that they saw other than, looking at their family. Yeah, it wasn't portrayed like that. It
Yeah.
was, the exact opposite. Yeah.
It's actually really funny you say that. I don't know what that was when that time period where it was just like, oh, we prefer thin women, pretty much demonizing the features of a natural black woman. There's been situations in the past, like maybe Victorian eras, where like these women would like do things like, oh, put a little pillow in their butt to make their butt a little bit like a little bigger, and then like they would curl their hair to where their hair was not like it looked naturally curly, but it was like there was a process, you know what I mean? But like over time it was like, oh, let's get a tan, and it's like, let me step back and even address that, like, if that's what you feel is necessary for your own standard of beauty, by all means, do what you do. Like, that's who you are. Who am I to say anything? You know what I mean? I just don't really appreciate it when it's like a hate, and then it's like I'm gonna go and do this now. You know what I mean? It's because it's just like, hold on, respect the source.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is. And then like also like society is being more open to natural hair, African textured hair, but I think like it's still some form of restriction where it's like, yeah, you can wear your natural hair, but as long as it's like somewhat done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't look like you look homeless, because then it's not okay. As a woman with locks, like sometimes like my retwist don't be always done, and like people look at me like I'm homeless, and it's like, I'm good, y'all. I'm promised. Like, I'm a business owner. Like, I'm good. I just haven't retwisted my hair yet. You know what I mean? So to talk about, and I don't really want to talk too much about like religion, because I know that it's a very sensitive topic. It's wars around this stuff right now. Like it's real serious. Even I don't want to like piss anybody off, but like I just want to state out the facts of, when you look at the origins of the children of Abraham and the story of Abraham and Sarah, like that was a handmaid's tale. They were told to move to the promised land and have children, and that their children would be God's chosen people, but Sarah was not able to have children, and so they pretty much agreed that their servant would essentially bear their child, and Abraham raped her and bore the son of Ishmael. And it wasn't until Sarah was 99 years old that she gave birth to her son, and she named him Laughter in Hebrew, which is Isaac. And essentially she kicked the handmaid and the baby out and pretty much forced them into the desert. And that child would then be the descendant of Islam, Muhammad. Yes, Elijah Muhammad. So yeah, the creator or the founder of Islam. And so Isaac, the prophet of Judaism, and Jesus was a Jewish man, and then he was the prophet of Christianity. But like that origin story, that small detail holds so much.
Yeah.
Being in the space where it was like, oh, I can't have a baby, so I'm going to use my authority and my power to put this woman into a position where she is being physically harmed because she wants to satisfy her husband. Bear me a child, or else I die, I think is what it said, or something along those lines. And essentially saying like her duty as a woman is pretty much pointless. Moving forward, when you look at the structures of how women are viewed in these religions, it just hurts. You know what I mean? Like for a long time, a lot of beginning religions believed that women, because we ministrated, we are filthy, and so we can't be in holy places. We can't be in places such as temples, and we couldn't be ministers or rabbis or priests or anything like that. And like now there are reforms and things that are taking place to where women can take these positions, but like there are some religions within Hinduism that believe that women cannot reach nirvana, like can't reach enlightenment because we're women. And it's just strange to me, because how is it in Christianity drinking the blood of someone who is being tortured is okay, and honoring that is okay, but honoring the fact that there is a living flow of blood that comes out every month, like it's deemed filthy. This flow is like what brings in life. It's just kind of contradicting to me. I just kind of wish that like we kind of challenged that idea. In my religious studies course, my teacher was talking about referring to God as he. It's limiting because it's applying physical characteristics to a divine being that created everything. Like these physical characteristics are above this thing, that whatever created us. Putting on this category of this is a he, and this he is watching you, it's oppressive to me. It just kind of question it. And it's like, I'm not necessarily questioning Jesus, because I grew up Christian. And like, when I say I was in it, baby, I was in it. I was the bride of the church. I was like out there constantly doing community outreach, community service. Like, I was a part of the choir. Like, the church was everything that I was.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got into college and like actually started doing my own independent studies and actually like started to question things and get to know God on a deeper level, I was able to start seeing things for what it was. Women are powerful. We hold more weight than we think. If y'all watch this movie called Don't Worry, Darling. Watch it. I think it might be coming off soon, but like, if you get a chance, please watch it.
The hormonal impacts on the female body. Us being females, just humans in general, we're hormonal. A lot of things like that we see in the external, or what we see with our eyes, has nothing to do with the body and how it sees it. All it sees is chemicals, molecules, and just simple reactions. It's a whole bunch of simpleness that happens inside of our body. So one of the simple things that occur is, sex hormones. We all have, chromosomes. We all know about this, the X's and the Y's. And these are made from cholesterol. Now, how many people do you know are on cholesterol-lowering medications? It's a common thing, right? Bad fat, you got fat in your heart. Let's give you this remedy that is supposed to get these plaques out of the arteries, but I don't think it's been effective because people are still on them. But
no, for real, it's
basically taking cholesterol-lowering medications impacts your ability to produce these sex hormones. It also affects your ability to produce vitamin D, because you need cholesterol before vitamin D can happen in that process. Before you get to the sex hormones, your estrogen, your testosterone, and your adrenals, I think. I don't know.
I'm enjoying
I don't know
this.
the last one. I don't know the last one. For those, you have progesterone, and then before progesterone, you have pregnenolone. All of this thing, you get what I'm saying. The people that know, okay. Basically, all of those are the precursor to that. So without something even as simple as cholesterol, the body can go haywire. It needs all of these things, and they impact your hormones. Something as cholesterol, something that you eat, impacts your hormones. And then another thing, why women are most of the time, or during their cycles, they're cranky, because they lack progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone always kind of have this balancing act. I know back in, I think, the 1950s, the hormone pills, the birth control pills, are primarily made of estrogen. So this automatically, counteracted it. And then, Via, just how you were saying, whenever our eggs are in somebody. So imagine back in the 1950s, whenever that pill did come out and somebody got pregnant, they were primarily getting estrogen, their hormones are thrown off. So now, you being the kid, or, the product, from your mother, you're automatically born with a hormonal imbalance. And that alone, like I said, estrogen can lead to all of the women issues that we have, such as PCOS and a bunch of others. That's just, a small example of how it can impact the female body. What you wear, your clothes, the fabrics. I know some feminine products, they intentionally put hormones in there to make you bleed more and make you, it's an incentive for them.
Yeah. Lululemon, they spray their crotch area with some type of chemical where it's like a forever chemical, and it's like throwing off all of it. Oh my gosh, it's sick.
Yeah.
It's so sick. But it's all a money scheme. They take advantage of the simple fact that women are sensitive in these areas, and there are things that can counterbalance our hormones and our body system in general. And they're intentionally throwing it in there in like small doses so that we can continue to funnel this money into their system.
Before we close out and go into some solutions to these issues. Because y'all know, we coming in with the solutions. We're not just going to talk about
we ain't
the
gonna
problem.
talk about it.
I didn't realize having a cycle early was a sign of a hormonal imbalance.
What do you mean by cycle early? Like early on in age?
Yeah.
Oh, really? You know what? Like, what's early? What's considered? Because mine was like 9.
Yeah.
That wow.
I mean, that's about me. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I realized like that's a sign of a hormonal imbalance.
And that's so common, relatively common around, young girls, to where like when girls start their periods later, it's almost like, what's wrong?
Yeah, like what's wrong?
You need to be on birth control.
Something.
Something
Yeah.
to start your period. It's just like just a
That,
late bloomer.
having heavy periods, having heavy cramping.
Yeah, and I experienced that too.
But yeah, that's just a little tidbit. Now, I want to get into some solutions to some of these matters, just to kind of give you guys some tangible things. We gave y'all a little bit of information, a little education on certain topics, related to women's health and some issues. But yeah, we're going to get into some solutions for mental health specifically. So I know some things that I've mentioned is having local gatherings, just where women are able to bring their kids. Because oftentimes women, whenever they are trying to have a life, be independent and do the single black mother thing, they got to leave the kids at home. And the kids aren't meant to be left at home.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason now they're stuck on the screens. Like the kids need to be out too.
Yeah.
You also got to go pick up grandpa. He moves slow. He can't drive. So you got to pick up grandpa. Y'all go to the event.
Yeah.
Those type of community events. Like I said, where you see all of the generations present, and you having a bad day, you can talk to an elder, or you got options, and that reliability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I also even think creating small group circles, like you were saying, like where women can come and if they have kids, they can bring their children, and if not, it's whatever. We are in groups of like 4 or 5, and everyone is going in a circle and like talking about their individual experience. People are pouring back into them and like supporting them, and it's free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not therapy or anything like that. It's a support system where like you have someone listening to you without judgment, in a safe space, and you're giving practical solutions. You never know, somebody may have went through something similar to you or something like that. Actually, I think I want to create something like that. Like I'm going to work towards creating something like that and setting that up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna come with it.
For mental health. We can pretty much all say, meditation, of course, outreaching help if you definitely do need it.
Getting out of the house and physical activity is a big one, I think. Say, you're a mom and you're stuck in the house, you have all of these different things going on in your head, and your baby's fussy. Go on a walk, get a stroller, or like wrap your baby up in a scarf and go on a walk. And like having like that community support to where like me and my girls can go on a walk together, and like our kids are getting outside too. Like getting fresh air and just getting in the sun and getting away from this condensed space where you feel like you're losing your mind can really help so much. And then like be mindful of what you're eating, because I think like a lot of processed foods make you feel worse.
Yep.
Ain't no wrong. It's balance. It's balance.
Everything is in balance. 100%. So trauma healing techniques, just some ways that you can heal some trauma in all those different forms.
I was saying earlier, having a safe community to be able to process what you're going through or what you've endured. Because I oftentimes think that trauma is just a situation that was stored in your body and wasn't fully processed correctly. Your body essentially responded in a way where it was like, I'm protecting you from this situation. But in consequence of that, like it's protecting you from every single thing that reminds you of that situation, even if it's not even close to that situation. And then like utilizing the free resources, like if you're at that edge, because let's be fucking real, like 2023, 2024, shit's been out of control since COVID. Utilize those free resources. Like if you feel like you're on that tipping edge where you feel the S word, suicidal, call the hotline. Please. I know it's fucking cliche, but call the fucking hotline. If you are experiencing a moment where you have extreme rage or like you're triggered, like listen to your body and do whatever you need to regulate and calm down your body. Instead of like trying to like pacify these emotions and suppress them, actually create space to listen to them, to hear the story that's behind the emotion, and heal yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's something that kind of started my trauma healing process, because I'm not really one to go to therapy or, talk to somebody, I just feel like not saying I don't need help. I just know that I do have all the answers, if I just take the time and get to know myself. So one of the things I began doing is understanding why I have certain emotions, even if it's happiness. Like, Courtney, why are you feeling so good about today?
Yeah.
What's going on in your day to where, is that the only sole source of your happiness today? Little things like that. Or why am I angry? Are you angry for no reason? Where is this anger coming from? Yada, yada, yada. So I think that's a tip as well that I've personally used, just assessing every emotion that you have and just questioning, why do I feel like this right now? I guess that ties into journaling. I haven't journaled consistently, but I also think reflecting on what you do in the day is important, just because sometimes we do things so passively with social media and everything now to where you don't even realize what all you've done.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And not only that, like not all the time can you identify what you're feeling. Sometimes you just have to bear witness and just experience them, because it might be some shit that happened to you when you was 12 years old, or like some shit that like, oh, they said that to me and I didn't catch it at the time, but that made me feel some type of way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just being able to bear witness and to be with it but not become it,
Yeah. If you're dealing with trauma, invite a friend to watch the video with you, share it with somebody that, you want to be able to rely on you, as a resource or just a support for whenever you're feeling down. Next, let's get into some, ways that we can break through these systems of sexism.
Yeah. So, I think it just all really comes down to creating boundaries with yourself. I think sometimes we oftentimes just kind of go with things because it's the norm or it's just the way of things is. No, it does not have to be this way. I've had a client who was essentially experiencing harassment at the hospital while she's in labor pertaining to getting induced. She was firm on the simple fact that she wanted to naturally give birth herself. Like she didn't want any Pitocin or anything like that. It's a simple fact that they were constantly being persistent on that, knowing that like as you progress in labor, like after a while, mom is not mentally here. Like she's in a whole nother realm going to go get her baby's soul. So it's like putting these complicated questions and like scenarios on her, and it's like she's not in the position to take care of this, and they're taking advantage of that. They don't really have education courses on like what are the effects of keeping your placenta and consuming it in an encapsulation, or why you don't really need to circumcise your child. Like I mean, like for religious purposes, if you feel like that is necessary for your baby, like by all means go ahead and do what you feel is necessary, of course. What are they doing with that foreskin afterwards? You know what I mean? Like it's just like there's just certain things where it's like it's become normalized and we don't really question it. Why is it like this? Birth control, like it's really glorified as this really positive thing because like women are able to claim their sexuality, and like by all means claim your sexuality, like be who you want to be, love who you want to love, like that's who you are, but be wise in like what you're putting in your body, because like this one thing that's benefiting you in the short term has like long-term effects.
Long your kids already.
So essentially with Willie Lynch, he wrote letters on how to build a slave, and he separated the black male from the home, made him docile to where he felt like he wasn't able to do anything to provide or to protect, and then in the same time he isolated the black woman and the baby, making it to where the black woman was dependent on the slave master. Moving forward into common times, you see this relationship that a lot of single mothers have with the government, where the government is providing them with the resources that they need, but in return, when their child becomes older and the state becomes involved and say they go to prison or something like that, and it's just like, I don't know what happened. And it's just like, well, it's kind of the father coming back for his child, the government, just being able to address that and seeing like how they manipulate that.
Yeah. Now that we're on the topic, I guess we can go ahead and discuss just some ways that you can, avoid this exact thing. Start off understanding, the roles of the male and the female and our innate capabilities that we have within us. Natural for, the man to be the one to go out and carry the task. And it's in the woman's nature to kind of be at bay and do the, be the brain work, be the mastermind on the task being carried out, and the expert of emotions, and that's her thing. He has to be emotionally intelligent as well, but whenever he can't figure out what's going on, he's able to come to her. X, Y, and Z. and so forth and so on. So I think it's important for us to understand roles of each, and for us to understand how to interact and talk with each other. I know we talked about communication earlier, and it's important for us as humans to know how to communicate.
Yeah. And then not even that, just getting into a space where there's no comparison between the two. You know what I mean? Each of our struggles are different from one another. So not necessarily comparing scars or comparing experiences, because there are things that a woman endures or is able to do that a man, is just like, wow, I don't know how she did that. And vice versa. You know what I mean? And so just holding that respect for each other is really important. Being able to dismantle the system and work together instead of against each other.
100%. So now we're going to finish off with talking about some hormonal regulators and just some ways that we can recognize when is our body out of whack. Because as a woman, we got a lot going on. So like we said earlier, having some early periods at an early age, regular, of course, heavy, very painful periods. I feel like, you should know your body more than your doctor does. You should know at this time, I'm going to feel this way. I'm going to start to begin to feel this. And that way, you are relying on the pull-out method or whatever birth control reason. You're able to tell your significant other, yeah, not right now. So that's the solution for that as well. It's Wild Yam cream. Have you heard of that? It's a cream that basically helps with just general hormonal imbalance. It's really good for people going through menopause. Also, good for just young adults as well. Just like I said, to balance it. You apply it to some of the soft areas of the skin, but that's a solution as well. Avoid bras made of polyester. Eliminate all the chemicals in the home. What you clean with, what you shower with, what you spray your perfumes with, eliminate all that out the home. Get some plants in there, throw some oxygen, and yeah.
Get a water filter. Yeah, please don't drink this tap water. I don't know what they're doing, but at this point, yeah.
Now, see the sea animals down south. There's mercury and everything.
Yeah. Mercury and when I say that, like, don't get no water bottles, y'all, because water bottles is cool, but all of that plastic, it's just, it's like a double-edged sword. I don't know.
It is.
Yeah. I just want to say, ladies, our healing brings healing to the community. And so with that being said, I really think that it should be the topmost priority. It should be something that's like a sacred journey, because our healing is essentially, it's what's going to bring forth a new way of living. And, just be gentle with each other, y'all. Be gentle with women, but be gentle with everyone. We all going through something. So yeah.
Yes. And to add on to that point, the importance of it, like she said, we're the root, of it all, from the start of a family. We're the one that's around the children the most. It's important that, you feel, whole and at one, because you're going to get tugged at, by your significant other, by your kids, by, the world around you. So, you got to feel whole and complete and confident in who you are. So hopefully y'all found this video, this Real Conversation Solution podcast, episode 3, very informative and insightful. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tell the people where they can find you at.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at The Feminist Doula. So,
and then, what are some, follow up, anything new we should be on the lookout from you?
Yeah, so I will be working on, I mentioned earlier how I said I wanted to have a community social group, sister circle, or just talk circles. I'll be working on that. And then I will also be having 31 days of Women History Month starting tomorrow. So I'm really excited. So
yes. That being said, that is it for episode 3 of Real Conversations, Real Solutions. And I'll see y'all in the next one.
See y'all later. Thank you.